Well, it's beginning of July. This is the time of year when there are loads of young birds and little animals about the place. And they're very naive, these little creatures. They have no idea of the dangers of the world. So, if you see a young bird or a young animal and it's sitting on a pavement or somewhere, or obviously they're not aware of the dangers, and it's very, very tempting to think that they've been abandoned somewhere, and pick them up and take them home and save them. Invariably they die. The best thing to do is just leave them where they are, because the adult bird knows where all the young birds are. Only if it's in imminent danger, in other words, if it's sitting in the middle of a busy road, would you just pick it up and lift it to one side, but make it safe. But taking them home is a no-no. Anyway, last weekend I came across 4 little hedgehogs, and I was sitting in the open out here, all huddled together, and 3 or 4 of us just kept an eye on them for about 3 days, and they never moved. They were there all the time, and I was sitting in the open in the sunshine, and then on Monday it decided to hammer down with rain. So, deciding they were abandoned, I brought them in. This little video is just about what I've had to do to look after these little things. So this is early morning, so I'm just going to wake them up and weigh them first before I feed them. There's one lying on top. This is a hot water bottle which is wrapped in a towel. So I'm just going to wake them up. There's one there, and the rest of them work their way into the towel and hide. Spiky little thing. They just curl up into a little ball. There are the other 3. So this is just weighing them. It's important to weigh them so that you can check on their progress. So these are the weights. So that they all seem to be making decent progress, apart from this one here. It's only put a gram on. So I just need to keep tabs on it. It seems to be eating well enough. I'm just going to have a growth spurt later. So I'll weigh them again in another 4 days and see what progress they're making. So I'm going to feed them now. They're really messy feeders. They really are. So I've got a separate box. A little plastic box there. The problem with cardboard boxes is that the blighters climb out. They're pretty good at climbing out, but the shiny, this plastic with its smooth sides, they can't climb out of it. So I line it with newspaper because the food gets everywhere. The important thing is not to give them cow's milk. Cow's milk is very high in lactose, and hedgehogs are allergic to the stuff, and it gives them terrible diarrhea. And diarrhea in young animals is almost a death sentence. They become severely dehydrated. So I've got some of this puppy milk, which keeps for a long time until you open it up. And then the rest of it is just basically puppy food. Even better than I do. Chicken and ham. And what's that? Beef and vegetables. So, yeah. Chicken and ham, I quite like that. It was only 25 pence. I tried all kinds of dishes. Started off with just a jar lid, just to put the milk in, but they just get hold of the edge and throw it everywhere. It's a terrible mess. So I thought I'd get a dish that they couldn't pick up and throw around. So I've got this one here, but they all just dive in. You can't see what they're eating, if they're eating at all. And then one will just decide to sit in there on top of the food. So I'm just kicking around in the garage with this thin plastic disc, which has been cut out of something at some time. And I find this works an absolute treat. They're used to just hoovering their food up off the ground, so I just put it on here. I could just put it on the bottom of the plastic container without the paper in. It'd be just as good. So I just mash the food up on this disc, and I just put a little bit of milk in with it. They don't seem wildly keen on water, so to stop them becoming dehydrated, just put so you get this kind of mush. I don't make too much of it up. I don't want too much of it left. If they eat all of this, then I'll make a little bit more up. So they all huddle together, clamber toward one another. So I'll put this food in now, and they'll soon get used to it. One of them, the smallest one, finds it very difficult to eat the food. I think it isn't quite weaned, but I've marked him in green, so I know which one it is. That's just a little dish of milk for that little fella. I'll just put it over there out of the way. We just need a little encouragement to get them started. Once they get in a little huddle, they're very loath to go and move anywhere. And once they get going, they're all right. The little one I've marked in green, he'd take the milk, but he's not very keen on the food, the puppy food. That may be she for that matter. So I'm quite happy it's just taking the milk for the moment. It'll eventually start eating the puppy food mixed with milk. Oh well, the little chap at the back seems to be taking solid food. That's a big relief. He's got a little green mark on his back. A double nail varnish just to glam him up a bit. Or glam her up a bit. When you try to sex them, they just curl up into a ball. So I don't know what they are, whether they're males or females. Cleanliness is very important, so when I put them back in their little sleeping quarters, I'll get rid of all this lot and wash it and clean it and throw the newspaper out, ready for the next time. And they seem to manage very well on being fed 3 times a day, which is quite nice. So this is a box I put them in sleeping. Put it away in a dark cupboard so they're not disturbed by the light. But you can see there that they are, as they say on the website, they poor lot. So I'll take this newspaper out and put a fresh piece of newspaper in. I'll fill the hot water bottle, not too hot, and wrap it in that towel, and then put them back in. Feed them later on. So that's it all clean and all ready for them to go back in after their feed. being tucked up under that towel. And I'll put them back in the garage when it's quiet and dark. Fortunately, these little hedgehogs, when I found them, they were reasonably spiky. I think they were probably about 2.5 weeks old. If you find hedgehogs which are younger than that, then it's a totally different situation. They take far more care, and it's a very, very demanding thing to do. And very often they die, or some of them die. So you really do need help. And these are two websites, particularly the bottom one, which I found invaluable. Well, they seem to have got the order sorted out. Realise they get this space out, they get more food. So this little one here with a green mark in his, he or she's coping with this very, very well. We're encouraged by the media, things like Springwatch and the RSPB and other organisations, to attract wildlife into our gardens. There's a whole industry devoted to it. But before I make this next statement, let me say I have no problems with cats per se. I mean, they're a lovely animal, but they are a major, major problem. There are not less than 7 million cats in the United Kingdom. Assuming each cat kills 3 small creatures a week, obviously they kill a lot more in the summertime and less in the winter time. That's a phenomenal 21 million creatures a week being killed. If you take the annual figures, absolutely staggering. Cats kill 1,100,000,000 small creatures in a year. It's absolutely shocking. During the breeding season, there's lots of young birds exposed on the ground, and they're just slaughtered by cats. In my own garden just this year, my neighbour's cats, and I watched it, killed 5 young robins, almost ready to fledge, in a nest in the ivy in the hedge. Just dragged them out before I could get to it. And they've also killed several young blackbirds on the lawn and a couple of young hedge sparrows that I know of. It's heartbreaking. Even worse is if an adult bird is killed, or an adult little animal is killed. If they have young, then the young starve to death. They're sitting in that nest waiting for a parent to come back, which isn't going to, and they just gradually fade away and die. Dreadful. On a recent TV programme, in a village with 50 cats and their devoted owners, they followed these cats on their daily prowls. Now, assuming each cat caught one small creature, a small bird, a ball, or a shrew, or a young rabbit, every 2 days, which is, you would say, very, very few. That's 175 creatures a week, which is almost 10,000 creatures a year in that one small village. And then these brainy scientists or experts, having only seen one blackbird killed during the survey, concluded that cats did very little damage to local wildlife. Well, for all their intelligence, even a fool could see that when you've got 50 cats in a village, there's going to be very little local wildlife left to kill. So it's surprising that they saw even one killed. Most of the wildlife would have been killed long before. So their conclusion was just, well, not worth a candle. Now, as I said earlier, I have nothing against cats as an animal. It's their instinct to kill things, but they are a major problem for wildlife, and yet they're just allowed to roam at will, killing, defecating wherever they like, and yet they're revered by their owners. I think their owners have a blind spot. A case of out of sight, out of mind. In Australia, this has been recognised as a problem too. They're indigenous wildlife, and they have laws there which try to prevent this slaughter. And I must say that it is something that I would support. So, just to conclude this video, I'd just like to emphasise that young wildlife should not be haphazardly taken home. Only when you're absolutely certain that some young animal or bird has been abandoned should that be an option. Because when you take them home, then it's a very, very demanding business, rearing them. And then there is the problem of releasing them out into the wild when they're used to humans and relatively tame. It just makes them very vulnerable. Years ago there was a wonderful film called Cass, about a young lad and a young kestrel. But it caused untold hardship to kestrel populations, in that every young lad wanted a young kestrel of his own, and young kestrels were taken from nests in large numbers, not just kestrels but many other raptors, taken home and kept in appalling conditions. And of course you cannot release them because they don't have the skills necessary to survive in the wild. So leave young creatures where they should be, cared for by their parents.